Welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. When you're ready to transform your sales for today's transforming market, we've got you covered with your host, the queen of cold calling and founder of Salesology, award-winning author, speaker, sales trainer, and coach, Wendy Weiss.
Hi, welcome to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. And I'm your host, Wendy Weiss. I am the founder of Salesology and creator of the Salesology prospecting method. And I'm also known as the queen of cold calling. And today, my very special guest is Glenn Sandifer. He is the Director of Inside Sales and Client Success at Securitas, and he has 20 years of experience in regional and national field sales and marketing roles. He's worked on product launches with quick service, consumer electronics, home theater, mobile and telecommunications industries. And currently, Glenn leads a world-class inside sales and client success group within the security industry. And he's focused on the development of both inside sales and customer success teams. And he deploys an outbound contact strategy. His efforts lead to consistent lead conversations. He also provides strategic support with digital and affiliate marketing strategies, migrating a new CRM, and incorporating a new onboarding and talent retention policy. He's also founded Glenn Sandifer Consulting, which has the aim of aiding smaller security dealers in developing winning programs and plans for predictable revenue and long-term success. So welcome, Glenn.
Hey, thank you for that introduction, Wendy, and thank you for your time. And thank you to your audience for listening.
Okay. Well, thank you to everybody. Thank you for being here. And so let's begin at the beginning, as I always do. How did you become the Director of Inside Sales and Client Success at Securitas? What's the backstory?
All right, so my origin story.
Yes.
I originally began in the security space in around 2015. And the reason I got into security is I was an accidental consultant. So I went through a layoff, and through that layoff, I decided, you know what, I'm going to figure something out on my own. I don't want to be ever in this position again. And so I founded my first consulting practice out of the state of Indiana, and it did well. But I came into contact with Xfinity at the time, as they were rebranding during that season, and ADT. And I was awarded contracts to work on the kiosk space, the special event space for Xfinity, and with ADT as a referral marketer. So I had great success kind of learning about the business there. My current role, that's the genesis of it to where I am. We were a part of a company that is now defunct, that was Stanley Convergence Solutions, or an electronic business. We were acquired by Securitas in 2022. From that acquisition, we saw kind of a change management of the business to where we became really commercially synergized. And I have the privilege to be moved up to the North American leadership team and on the global marketing team to provide insights on how we go to market and how we impact with the business. We have a number of clients. I guess through your bio, as I was kind of remembering each of those, I've pretty much touched a lot of the spaces in which we currently serve from a security standpoint in both our guarding, our risk management, Pinkerton, and our security solutions space. So it was part of the acquisition. Prior to that, I was consulting here where I live now in the state of Tennessee. Accidentally, again, I went through another layoff. My wife and I relocated, and I said, I'm done. I'm not going back to corporate America. And so I spent about a year and a half doing contract work, picking up odd jobs, picking up small contracts around CRM migration, sales playbooks, sales programs, training and development, project management, et cetera. And then this amazing opportunity with Stanley Security was presented to me. And so my former boss and the gentleman that recruited me said, I need you to come over here and do one thing. I need you to build something that's lasting, that will reverberate throughout the industry. What we're doing from an inside sales standpoint is not being done across our competitors' landscape. I'm really proud of that, and I'm proud of the men and the women that I'm able to do this with.
Okay, well then I have to ask, what are you doing differently?
What am I doing differently now?
Yeah,
So
well, you
I think
said that
there's
what you're doing is
yeah,
not done. Your competitors are not
yeah.
doing the same
So
thing. So
it's
what are you doing
what
differently?
what what we find from our in the competitive landscape of uh, commercial security solutions is there's no outbound prospecting. As much as an account executive will tell you there's outbound prospecting, there is not. So we deploy a number of different techniques. I like to say that we have 15 different programs that our team is running at any given time, 15 plays with the aim to build out long-term pipeline and build out long-term relationships. And we do that through a number of methods. One, I mean, we're on the call queue 8 to 8 every day. We have team members that are there to answer any calls. We've changed the way from a business standpoint that inbound leads are tracked and measured. So we now have clearer visibility into a digitally created lead and where it stands in conversion metrics to pipeline to close one to loss to suspended. And we look at that data daily. And as we look at that data daily, we do it because we want to be able to provide better value back to our shareholders, which are our account executives and our marketing partners. We're kind of the bridge between marketing and sales. Because as some other guests have alluded to and that I've heard on other podcasts, sales is here, marketing's here. Sales would like to get better leads. Marketing would like you to convert more leads and win more leads. So we're kind of in the middle and we're able to speak to both sides to help impact the business.
Okay, so tell us all some more about your outbound strategy. As the queen of cold calling, this is something that always is of interest
Yeah,
to me.
we're done. I don't allow, if you're afraid to be on the phone, this isn't a job for you because you're gonna be on the phone. So, I mean, we have a minimum threshold and it's documented. You got to have a minimum of 50 outbound calls a day. And with this being, as of this recording, 2024, we know that most people are not sitting at a desk with a phone. We know people are not at home in their business. We know they're not in their office. Everyone's mobile. So the 50 contacts is really just kind of a metric in order for you to gauge how successful you can be in the long term. So we have different scripts for each of the 15 different campaigns that we may run at any given time. And I have multiple team members that are cross-trained across all or most of those campaigns so we can turn. I mean, our group is really nimble. So if the business has a need that's service related, that's a refresh program, that is something that's mandated by the federal government, we have the luxury to where we can pivot pretty quickly from an outbound standpoint, get that information out to either our current clients or potential clients, and then get a result back into the pipeline.
Okay, I'm going to get in the weeds for a moment. When you say 50 contacts, are those 50 conversations with decision makers, or you're saying they dialed the phone 50 times?
No, they got to get a minimum of 50 dials a day. And then they're
Okay.
supposed to get another 50 to 100 emails that they can do. And no mass emailing. Deliver me from those people that are going into the CRM and clicking 50 different contacts at the same company and hitting the email and saying they hit the metric. Nope. I need to see for this 2-hour time block, how many emails did you send out? For this 2-hour call block, how many outbound calls did you make? How many inbound calls did you take, et cetera?
Okay. Well, you're making my day here just listening to you. So thank you for that. And so one of the questions that we were talking about before before I hit record was this transition with the acquisition, two companies becoming one, and that you were instrumental in bringing two different teams together and getting them to work together, more or less. And so I'm curious, what tips would you have for our listeners that are managing sales teams Because one of the things that I hear all the time as a sales trainer is, well, one, they won't pick up the phone, but also how difficult it is to sometimes get salespeople to follow a proven process or use the script that everybody knows works, or, to do the kinds of things that management will want them to do to be successful. And you were able to do it with two teams from two different companies. So give us some wisdom on that.
So so I'm speaking to someone who is struggling with that. The first thing I'll say is change management is hard with any business. I don't care if you're a small business owner who is acquiring a competitor. I don't care if you're being bought out by a large regional competitor or if you're doing vertical integration. It's going to be hard. So it's supposed to be hard because what I believe is the reward on the back end of that difficult is going to be this immense satisfaction or this outcome of I've accomplished something. So it has to be hard. So for anyone who thinks that it shouldn't be hard and that you should be able to just walk into an integration or walk into an acquisition, it's not going to happen. So that's the first piece. Second piece, if you're a salesperson and you're having a problem with your people getting on the phone and wanting to get on the phone and follow the script, the best piece of advice I can give you is do what I did in the beginning of the Stanley time and in the beginning of Securitas. Get on the call queue with them and start dialing. And when they started to see my contacts outpace theirs and I'm doing everything else that you mentioned in the intro, they're kind of like, oh, okay, it works. Hey guys, just want to let you know I got a new account lined in, Glenn's Pizza. We're going to do 15 locations across the Midwest. What are you guys doing today? So that's the first piece of advice. You got to get in there and lead from the front with your people. I'm not saying that you got to hit 50 calls and 100 emails a day, but getting out there and giving them some quick wins and giving them visibility into quick wins is always impactful as a leader. If you're dealing with the change management and you're finding that it's hard, typically it's hard because of silos. Most organizations that merge are operating out of their own systems, out of their own expectations and their own experiences, and they become silo. The way that we've done it is X. Why would we want to do Y or Z? So I believe that's when, as leaders, you have to have the wherewithal and the ability to get in front of the people, build that relationship, build that credibility, and then to get them to buy into a bigger goal. So I spent 22 building 20 through 22 building a program, and then 22 to today refining the program for the new normal for the business and for my team members.
So when you say getting in front of the people, are you talking about getting in front of the people that are operating these different silos and getting their buy-in so that the teams can operate well? Or are you talking about
that would be getting in front of it. You want to make sure that you're talking to the people. And a lot of times as leaders, you will have to go down a couple of levels. So if you're in a large multinational, there's silos and then there's layers. There's 3, 4, 5, 6 layers before you get to president or CEO. You're going to have to go down to the day-to-day users to get their experience and then work your way up. And then they're all speaking the same language based on what you've experienced through those conversations. And so now it's easier to get buy-in from individuals on the change that we want to make.
Okay. I think that's really, really good advice. So I'm curious if you have any tips about hiring, because we talked a little bit about getting the salespeople's buy-in, leading by your example of getting on the phone too. But taking a step back, how do you hire for this type of position so that you do end up with people that are that will pick up the telephone and talk to people they don't know?
Yeah, I'll give kind of what is kind of my playbook on hiring. So anyone who follows me on LinkedIn, they know I have my hiring sign up. I'm not hiring you unless you hit one of all 3 of these. So first, we have to recognize as leaders that things have changed in the inside sales space and the sales space in general since COVID. We went into a lockdown measure. We went into remote selling. A lot of companies had success and a lot of teams expanded. That expansion all happened remote. I believe that there's going to be a portion of the sales job that remains remote or hybrid versus on-site. So be flexible. I would say please be as adaptable as you can for your team to understand where they are. The last 4 years is a short-term memory versus the previous 14 that they may have worked. They don't remember that because they've been able to be at home and pick up kids and deal with doctor's appointments and get laundry done and cook. They don't want to go back. So that's just the reality. But I look for individuals that have these 3 traits. First trait will be grit. I need people who are gritty, who can get into the details, get into the granularity of account-based marketing, account-based metrics, contact metrics, appointment setting, opportunity creation, pipeline management. I look for people who have had that experience, not just in my industry or in the role, but across other roles. And so I look for people to come across and convey, I have the grit. I'm willing to get into the dirt and get into the details of the work. So I need people to be gritty. Second is I need them to be coachable, because most people who enter into the security space now, they're coming into a space where it's been insulated for the last 30 years. There have been 1 or 2 type of sellers, 1 or 2 type of operators, and there's nothing bad about any of that. And they're coming into a way of doing business that they didn't have to do at Google, at Microsoft, at SaaS company X, at local guy, or with their small business. So I need people that have to learn the culture, learn how to adjust to the culture, and then learn how to work within the culture. And then the other part of coachability is to get people to understand that they don't know what they know. And that's okay. It's my job as the leader, and your job as a leader as well, to make sure that you're coaching up and training your people in the way and in the grammar that is necessary in order to function in the business. So we have grit, so we have coachability, and then the third is adaptability. I need people who can pivot on a dime. We are a large ship that it takes a long time to turn, but we are a nimble vessel attached to that ship. We are able to pivot and go out ahead and scout and see what things are going on. So today you may be on an inbound call queue and dealing with inbound leads from warm hand raisers, but tomorrow I need you doing a call campaign on 1,000 wholesale accounts that we now need to get back into the fold. So I need people who are adaptable, not just for the needs that I have, but the needs that the business communicates back that we can solve. That, I believe that's how you add value in a large scale corporation.
Okay, I think that is also very handy advice, Glenn. So we're gonna pause now for a word from our sponsor. But when we come back, I'm going to hold my special guest, Glenn Sandifer's feet to the fire, because I want to hear some major success stories and how they came about. But now we have a word from our sponsor, the Salesology Vault. And just about every guest that I've interviewed on the Salesology Conversations with Sales Leaders podcast has had a gift for our listeners. So what we've done is we've taken all of those gifts and we put them all in one place just for you. We call it the Salesology Vault, and it's packed full of free gifts from sales leaders, sales experts, marketing gurus, revenue generation experts. We add another gift every week. We release a podcast every Monday, and when we do, we add a gift. So you can log in as often as you'd like. You can download as many gifts as you'd like. It's all free. The link to the Salesology Vault is in the show notes. So as soon as you finish listening to this podcast, go to the show notes, click on the link. You'll be glad you did. And now I am back with my special guest, Glenn Sandifer, who is the Director of Inside Sales and Client Success at Securitas. And so I had asked you before to share some of the things that you and your sales team are working on this year, but I'd also like to hear, like, what are some of the big wins you've had this year?
Sure. Some of the things that our sales team have been working on this year that I believe is highly successful. We'll start there. So we have a portion of our business that is related to wholesale accounts. So it could be Wendy's HVAC service in Sacramento. You may have relationships with accounts and you want to sell them monitoring. We wholesale that monitoring service as a part of our business, and it's very lucrative for us and our competitors in the space. So we found that a number of the dealers had either sold or went defunct. And so we went through that list, got into the granularity and the details of the total market potential. And we began an outbound campaign, an outbound letter campaign, a follow-up email campaign, everything in order to get as many of those accounts that were former dealer accounts back into the fold with us directly as Securitas. So that's one project. And I will say that without going into the numbers, that has probably been the most profitable program we ran in a short time period.
Okay.
Some of the other things that we've worked on is if you are a professional that manages a facility or manages the security, let's just say it's your small business, we are getting rid of something. It's called POTS, plain old telephone system. No longer will you be able to be ensured that your system will dial out. And so for the past 3 years, all of the competitors in the space have been shouting from the rooftop, upgrade your system, upgrade your system, upgrade your system, get off POTS, get on cell, get on IP, get on Wi-Fi, get on something else, because when POTS gets cut off, not by us, but by the federal government or the telecom providers, there's nothing we're going to be able to do to protect it. So we spent a big portion of this year gathering data across the POTS lines through each of our manufacturer relationships and through our monitoring center to understand who's on POTS as primary, who's on POTS for cell backup, who's on POTS for backup, with cell as primary or IP as primary, and then provide them a new solution that meets the standard. So we've been spending a lot of time on that. That has been very profitable, and we'll probably see a larger push as we go into Q5 on POTS because of the number of accounts that will then be eligible for upgrades for that.
All right. So one last question that I absolutely do have to ask you, because you're clearly a very smart, very capable guy. You know your stuff.
Thank you.
What drives you crazy about
What drives me
managing
crazy?
a sales team?
My people. No, just kidding. No, I love my people. And as of this recording today, I sent them a message. Today, you're getting snark all day because of the emails that I went through and because of the day. But I think the thing that is the most difficult for me and has been managing the expectation of my team and getting them to focus on the true priority. And I'll tell you what that means. And if they're listening, they'll know what I'm saying. We came from a world in the Stanley world where we did pretty much everything that needed to be done. And they were kind of de facto customer service reps in addition to driving pipeline. And it was easier because we were siloed, but we had our fingerprints in every system to get information and to do the job. It is now more difficult. And if there's an issue that we have with service or with billing, it has to go to those teams. My team has struggled letting go of that need to help and then hearing from me complaining, why are you guys spending 2 hours a day on the phone with service or with the monitoring center? I need you hitting your dials. And so it's probably been the biggest challenge as far as pivoting them. As we look at where we are year to date, I think they finally have seen the value in flipping the switch and going into mostly a project and program based environment where you deliver predictable pipeline for install and revenue and total SEV versus being kind of the catch-all and then allow the other teams that we support now to get the benefit of our knowledge and the benefit of our passion.
So how did you get them to make that change?
I yelled at them for 9 months. It's not magical, Wendy. I literally, every monthly meetup, every one-to-one, every face-to-face, I need you to stop because the fear. So let's go to what drives most people is not success, it's fear. The fear was that they felt that they would lose out and lose the relationship with that individual or with that group. And it hasn't happened. That group is now more accountable, or those groups are more accountable than ever before. And now as we come along beside them and support them, it's a force multiplier. What I want, 100% honest, I have been beating the table and I have been repeating myself. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. I repeat myself all day with them I repeat myself all day with this team until some of them have finally stopped doing the work that I told them I was not paying them for.
Okay, so you heard it. You all heard it here first from Glenn Sandifer. Yell at them. Repeat yourself. But
no, but I do it out of respect and with love. I joke, but as far as the snark, when other people join my team calls, they're like, okay, this is different. I was like, and it's supposed to be. They're supposed to be confident enough to come and challenge with data. They're supposed to be confident enough to come and provide insight on how we can do something better and give the rationale why I, from a time standpoint, need to invest time there. So we call it managing up. I think most leaders, we don't do a good job when we manage down, encouraging our people to manage up. Because if they're in it every day, they know what the customers are saying on the phone. They know what's happening within the other departments. I may get someone at my level who thinks everything is great, but if I don't hear from their people or my people the truth and things that we can fix, he and I or she and I don't know what to fix. And that's ultimately our job as leaders in these organizations, is to remove all of the barriers and remove all of the obstacles that impact success.
Okay. So what I think I'm hearing from you is that you're really pushing your people and you're not allowing them to just be okay with a kind of status quo.
No,
medium.
My team gets frustrated with my supporter because I start asking them, so what's next? What are you guys going to do next? And they're like, well, we don't want to go. I'm like, well, I need you to go because I need to push you into this next dimension so we can grow the business at another way. But yeah, definitely, I would say for any leader, it's your job to push your team, understanding their motivations, understanding their triggers, understanding their pains. So you don't put more on them than they can bear, but also you challenge them where you know that they are not fulfilling their full potential.
Okay. So if our listeners want to get in touch with you, Glenn, how do they get in touch with you?
Yes, I provided in the show notes my website as well as my LinkedIn profile. Those are really great ways to get a hold of me. And then once we connect, there are all these other different ways and other avenues through social that I love to connect with people in the audience.
Okay, wonderful. So if you want to connect with Glenn, as soon as you finish listening to this podcast, go to the show notes. Click on the link. We have his website in the show notes. We have his LinkedIn profile in the show notes. So connect with Glenn. And so final words of wisdom, Glenn, for our listeners. Leave us with one piece of advice for accelerating sales.
I believe sales is a noble practice. If we as leaders spend more time developing our teams into consultants and partners versus sales reps hitting quota, we will get much more job satisfaction as leaders, and our employees will have more job satisfaction. That leads to the ultimate outcome we're all looking for, which is long-term sustainable growth. So focus on developing your people in the area of coaching and consulting so that you'll be able to win down the line. Okay,
well, I love it. Thank you, Glenn Sandifer. You've been listening to my special guest, Glenn Sandifer, who is the Director of Inside Sales and Client Success at Securitas. And I want to thank Glenn, and I want to thank our audience for listening today to this Salesology Conversations with Sales Leaders podcast. And if you found value in listening to today's podcast, then think about one sales leader, one business owner, one entrepreneur, somebody that you know that you think might also find value in listening to this podcast. And please do share the link with them. And until we meet again, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, really large bills.
You've been listening to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. Be sure to follow so that you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, please leave a rating and review, and be sure to share it with your friends. Tune in every week for more exciting insights and wisdom on transforming sales. And until next time, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, very large bills.